President Council, our Director General, privilege to address this sixth an embodiment of our collective history, our heritage. It is an important affirmation of our constitutional and democratic dispensation that embeds the leadership role of traditional leaders in our society as Africans. It is an important opportunity to reflect and shape collective action towards resolving complex developmental issues that are confronting our traditional communities. As venerated leaders of our people in different communities, there is an unmistakable expectations from our people that your presence in this house, their dreams and aspirations. It is a trust that cannot be betrayed. Before we can delve much into these issues, Chairperson and Khoi-San leaders, your elections as Chairperson has gone down limitations for women leaders to ascend to high positions of authority, to uphold the principles and rights of equality as espoused in our Constitution. Chairperson, we have utmost confidence in prevailing challenges that are facing our states. Equally, we want to congratulate Hoshi Sitlolo for being elected to the position of Deputy Chairperson of this House. Your election will certainly contribute in bringing to the fore young people in matters being championed by the National House. The combination of these two leaders, while we celebrate this great feat in the elections of the two leaders, institution of traditional and Khoi-San leaders who passed on since we met for the last opening of the National House. In this regard, we convey our sincere condolences to Mahlangu, a leader who was very consistent, principled, solution-orientated, and steadfast in raising various issues of development that concern society. His Majesty King Zwelithini Kabhekuzulu, who left us an indelible legacy in his spirited effort and actions in the fight against HIV and AIDS, Queen Mandvombi. Similarly, we extend our condolences to the royal families of Queen Noloyiso Sandi, Inkosi Ngangumhlaba Matanzima of Abathembu on their passing on. Their departures leaves a void, for they possessed the necessary wisdom in enriching our discourse on matters of development in our societies and in our traditional communities. We also acknowledge members of traditional leadership who lost their lives due to other acts of criminality and violence in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Chairperson, we meet today at a very challenging time in our economy, in our country, where the rate of unemployment has been on the rise and further deepening inequalities. Of course, this is compounded by the effect of COVID-19 pandemic that has not only led to the loss of lives, but also led to the closure of businesses and the loss of livelihoods for many. In this regard, Chairperson, we wish to applaud the unit of purpose and seamless collaboration between the public and the private sectors in tackling the pandemic and ensuring the access to health care of all our people that were affected. Our healthcare system has proven its resilience, and it has ensured that we are able to bounce back and embark on a path of fatalities has declined. Our fight against COVID-19 is not yet over, as the threat of its resurgence still remains. That is why, as social partners, we must solidify our partnership and collaboration in driving COVID-19 vaccination in order to get our country back to normality and open up the economy to reverse the losses caused by the impact of this COVID-19. Osesihlalweni kuzawufanele sibacela abantu bakithi ukuthi bahambe bayo-vaccinate ngoba yiyo indlela engasikhipha kule nkinga esibhekene nayo ye-COVID-19 isize ukuthi silwisane nayo siphinde siyinqobe. In this regard, as government, we look to the partnership with the institution of traditional and Khoi-San leaders to sharpen our efforts of economic recovery and reconstruction. We have no doubt that with economic recovery and reconstruction measures that government is implementing, these challenges will ultimately be overcome. We're also meeting at a time when social ills like gender-based violence and femicide, including the abuse and violation of the girl child, continue to confront us as a nation. So are the causes of ritual killings, especially of people living with albinism. Let us be clear, Chairperson, that the acts of gender-based violence undermine all our efforts of building a united and a prosperous country. The measure of any nation is how women and children are being treated. We cannot be a society, we cannot be a nation that regresses and has no regard for the rights of women. We raise these issues sharply as we do, comfortable that members of this House possesses distinct wisdom that is drawn from the people in various mahotels and imbizo held within your communities. In our view, traditional and Khoi-San leaders must stand up and fight all these social ills that divide us as a people. we should work together as partners in an effort of building a united South Africa. Such a fight must also be directed at the cancer of racism, tribalism, and regionalism that is rearing its ugly head from time to time. Chairperson, it is true that we'll be able to make faster progress in finding solutions to prevailing challenges that confront our communities. With a unified sense of purpose and direction, we stand a better chance to make positive impact on the lives of our people in traditional communities. In essence, the expectation from the people is that we collectively act as guardians of our constitutional values, democratic cultures, and practices in pursuit of their right to development. When unity, it's insurmountable. As government, we acknowledge the issues and challenges raised by Amakosi and Khoi-San leaders, which in the main are about the strengthening of this key institution and placing it at the heart of development of traditional communities to be on par with the rest of the country. Among other key issues, need to resolve the land question. We have heard your calls on the need to improve road infrastructure to essential services. You have raised issues around the investment in our rural communities. You have raised issues about water and sanitation in your areas under your jurisdiction. You have raised issues about turning great places into heritage sites for the promotion of tourism in traditional communities. You have raised issues about access to information, communication, and technology in rural communities. Looked at the state of the nation by the President. In its nature, the State of the Nation address does not go into detail, but provides an overarching programs of action of government for the year ahead. We will hear more on the details as we engage in a series of dialogue with traditional and Khoi-San leaders that will be led by the Office of the Deputy President and supported by the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. This will build on the conversation already held with traditions in the provinces of KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga as part of our policy in action initiatives under the auspices of the South African National AIDS Council. While we concede as government that some of these issues you have raised have taken long to deal with, at the apex of government, we can assure this House chairperson that the President has established an interministerial task team to respond to these issues that you have raised over time. This task team is chaired by the Deputy President and comprises the Ministers of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, the Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, and Minister of Justice and Correctional Services. The task team will endeavor to address all these issues raised by the institutions of traditional and Khoi-San leaders to advance development, acknowledge that some of these issues have taken long to resolve. However, we are confident that the process we've chosen will bear fruits. That's why we want to appeal to all sections of these institutions to afford this unfolding process space and opportunity to work on the issues at hand. This we're going to do with yourself. In taking some of these issues forward, the task team will utilize available instruments in rural areas. We believe that each of our communities has a unique set of endowments which, if unlocked, can lead to sustainable shared growth for those communities. Our ability to realize development in society requires partnership with institutions of traditional and Khoi-San leaders as agencies of people. At the policy level, we'll continue to implement enabling legislation for the benefit of this institution. In this regard, the Traditional and Khoi-San Leadership Act, which provides for the traditional councils to be constituted, has come into effect as indicated last year. This has been a matter of concern to this institution. To this end, the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs has gazetted a shared future. We pledge to provide all the necessary support to the Commission as it undertakes the important and groundbreaking work, which includes documenting this history and the consideration of applications for the recognition of Khoi-San leaders. Our heritage and cultural practices are central to the ethos and development of our nation. Through such recognition, Khoi-San leaders will, for the first time in our history, formally take up their positions to lead their respective communities. As we practice our cultures and traditions, we must seek at all times to protect the inalienable right to life and dignity, for such rights cannot be limited or suspended under any circumstances. As government, we remain concerned about the continued incidents of death of young people who participate in customary initiation, particularly in the province of the Eastern Cape. Customary initiation should serve as a rite of passage for our young people. And as such, it is a practice that should embrace evolving methods of modern science to prevent any loss of lives. The Customary Initiation Act came into effect in September 2021, will assist in improving the situation and promote safe initiation practices in our communities. We also call upon parents who send their children to initiation schools to ensure that such schools are registered. House and leaders of these institutions of traditional and Khoi-San leadership, it's how we could use the school to shape the young boys into agents of change in combating gender-based violence and femicide. We believe that the program is very critical in ensuring that the boy child is raised respecting and protecting women. The traditional men's parliament that is led by the National House also remains a critical tool in advancement of moral regeneration initiatives. Chairperson, our constitutional, legislative, and governance architecture affirms the centrality of traditional leadership institutions in the development of traditional communities to advance progressive realization of socio-economic rights and tackle poverty, unemployment, and underdevelopment challenges. Inevitably, the role of traditional leaders should never be limited only to ceremonial and cultural responsibilities, but should be seen in the broader context of daily struggles of ordinary people in search for a better life, access to economic opportunities, improved infrastructure for service delivery, as well as quality health and education outcomes. Traditional leaders should therefore see themselves as catalysts and agents of change to bring about better development outcomes in areas under the jurisdiction of traditional leadership. Government will continue to build and sustain strong collaborative and partnership platforms with traditional leaders so as to address poverty and underdevelopment challenges in our traditional communities. These collaborative efforts will also include a concerted fight against crime that affects traditional communities, thus impacting on issues of safety and development. Access to land, as we have said, as a critical asset for rural development and economic transformation will be prioritized going forward to ensure that land under the custodianship of traditional and Khoi-San leaders is productively utilized to develop our communities in terms of agriculture, human settlement, and industrial use. Working in partnership with traditional and Khoi-San leaders, government will ensure that we improve ways in which people benefit from the beneficiations and extraction of natural endowments on land that is owned by traditional communities. Furthermore, as part of government's land reform program, we'll continue to provide integrated agricultural production support packages to ensure that available communal land is productively utilized to fight poverty and hunger and to create opportunities for development of agro-processing enterprises within rural communities under the jurisdiction of this institution. In many parts of our country, government is already providing support in the form of mechanization, seed and market support to communal farmers and beneficiaries of land reform. These initiatives on agricultural production and agro-processing value chains will definitely unlock untapped potential for rural communities to meaningfully participate in the economy, creating more jobs in the process. More importantly, investment in rural roads infrastructure for connectivity and economic mobility is critical, not only to improve the quality of life, but to open key routes for the movement of fresh produce and manufactured goods to markets. through government infrastructure program, specialties to social facilities such as schools, clinics, hospitals, and centers of employment. Never again should we have children braving, raging, and overflowing rivers with no bridges or walkways in order to access education. Equally, key investment in bulk water reticulation and sanitation infrastructure with traditional communities will not only benefit industrial development progress, but also respond directly to the basic needs of our ordinary people in these rural communities who still don't have adequate access to potable clean water. Working with this institution, we are committed to ensuring that these development priorities are tackled with a renewed sense of urgency and the speed that is required. We believe that all this work will dovetail very well with the Invest Rural Master Plan that has been developed and is being spearheaded by the National House of Traditional and Khoi-San Leaders. Chairperson, in memory of the departed traditional and Khoi-San leaders, we must pick the proverbial spear so that we ensure that their vision does not fall by the wayside. It is now my honor and pleasure to you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Acting President of the country. Uthethile umongameli. Ndiyazi ukuthi we want to move forward. Singasebenzi nani what deputy ministers. Your presence here ibaluleke kakhulu ukuthi as you are the implementers down there. We have seen it. Isekela mphathiswa esikeseva ukuthi awuphathekanga kahle. Siyabulela sikubona phakathi kwethu. Ngomnye wabantu abasifunqulayo endleleni nabanye ke abafana nawe. Thank you very much, Acting President. The National House will debate the speech of the Acting President in the form of a dialogue with all affected ministers on the 10th of March this time. We have been asking for a dialogue, ingxoxo, sithetha sonke, sihleli ndawonye sonke. So, sizabe sinayo ke lo ngxoxo, ikhokhelwa by Deputy President of the country, ehamba nabo abaphathiswa abachaphazelekayo. Hoping that in our discussions, President of the country, the issue which was raised by the President, social compact. I remember very well, we had that discussion with the Department of Arts and Culture. It was maybe 1 year or 2 years back. If we're implementing what we have been talking about, we just talk and talk and talk. Let's walk the talk now. We have been talking and talking. Let's move together and walk the talk. Because it's not documents, it means everything is there, the legislation is there, but as implement, let's join hands and implement whatever we've been talking about. We are looking forward to that discussion, Sekela Mongameli. And all the houses will be part of that, and other people will be invited to that discussion.